Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 14 of the Good People, Bad Intentions podcast. And today I have a special guest. Like always, we have Adrian Roach. He has a really interesting story that in actually the 12th episode with John Olhauser, we got a little bit of a sample from. He has a really interesting story where kind of the torch has been passed on to him by other Bermudan boxers, and now his story is that he wants to get into the 2024 Olympics and bring some hardware home. Currently, he is at Crandall University, a part of the Crandall boxing team that we've covered a few times now, and he is also going to be competing in Ecuador fairly soon. I'm really excited to have him on as a guest, talk about his story. Hopefully we can extract some tidbits of wisdom, inspiration, and motivation. And without further ado, guys, let's introduce Adrian. Hello, Adrian. How's it going?
Hey, everything's good.
Welcome to Good People, Bad Intentions. I'm really excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to listen to either Sean or your coach, John Olhauser's interview?
I listened to a bit of my coach's one, but then I had a class, so I had to go straight to my class.
Student life.
Yeah, I know. It's rough sometimes.
Well, he just mentioned you briefly because I had already saw you on Instagram, and I got a little bit about your story and everything you've been going you went through to get to where you are now. I watched the Fight for an Island documentary, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, this is a really moving story that I think should be shared as much as possible. And so I thought, let's have you on. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And I guess the first thing I want to ask you is how long have you been in Canada now?
In Canada, so I've been in Canada since, well, I go home for breaks, but my first time coming out here was January of last year.
Okay. And how's your experience been? Like, has it been like kind of a culture shock compared to Bermuda, or?
It's much bigger, but where I'm at right now, like in Moncton, I like it because it's a smaller city. It's a little bit far off from like anything like too busy. So it helps me focus a lot, with my training. Helps me keep me away from any distraction, like things like that. I'm on family and friends. You love them to death, but sometimes they can be a distraction. So I do find being out here is beneficial to my career.
Awesome. And I think one thing that John was talking about that I thought was really moving was, so first of all, he said that you started university, you were doing it online, and you were also working. Were you working at a restaurant at the time while you were doing classes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy, like he's working, he's going to school, he's trying to make this happen, make this dream come true. And he said something about like how he talked with your family about boxing and everything like that. And it seems like your family, everybody agreed that this is the right move for you. So you have the full support of your family moving down here and pursuing your dream.
Yeah, most definitely. My parents have done their best in everything, in every aspect of them, raising me, morals, things like that. And when they heard that I could continue my education as well as continue my boxing career, they were like, it's a no-brainer, So I gotta appreciate my parents, and they put a lot forward and sacrificed a lot for me to get to the position that I am now.
And can you kind of talk about how long you've been boxing and kind of like the early stages of, because how popular is boxing in Bermuda? Is there a lot of boxing gyms?
It's like a good amount. Like for the size of Bermuda, it's a good amount of gyms. It's about two main boxing gyms, and there's also a few gyms that do like boxing as well as kickboxing, Muay Thai, things like that. But yeah, I've been boxing. In April, it'll be 5 years.
Okay.
Boxing in Bermuda, it's fairly popular. Like we had some really talented boxers come out of Bermuda. Um, Boxers such as Clarence Hill, he won bronze in the '76 Olympics. Troy Darrow, he was #5 middleweight. At one point in the world, we've had Nicky Bascom. He's still a current fighter. You
Mm-hmm.
know, his really good. You know, he goes up to Mayweather's camp sometimes up in Las Vegas. And he trains with Mayweather's uncle. We have Teresa Perazzi. I believe she was in like the top 3, top 5 of women's boxing. You know, and then we have the new guys coming through like Andre Lamb, Mike Tyler, guys that are just going pro, and you know those guys are like they're making the way. So yeah, it's pretty popular. Whenever there's a boxing event in Bermuda, it's packed up.
And like he was talking about, and I know he kind of gave some of the stories, so it's kind of me making sure everything that was said was 100%. He was saying something along the lines of you were passed the torch as kind of the hope of Bermuda to get some hardware, to get like some medals in the Olympics. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that part of the story, like what boxers are maybe involved in that, like, and what kind of transpired?
Well, yeah, so there was 2 boxers ahead of me, Andre Lamb and Tyler Christopher. So they're going pro now. You know, they were on the Olympic run, and you know they were doing pretty well. And then once COVID hit, it was just, well, what's the point of waiting around, right? So they went pro, and yeah. So actually, yeah. So when the Olympics got canceled the first time, they just said they would go pro, and then they were kind of just in a gray zone, the like national association. So they were like, well, we didn't really know like what's going on. And then when they said that the Olympics was going to be rescheduled and that they were holding a second qualifier event for it, they were like, okay, like we know exactly who we're going to send. So they were like, Adrian, you know, this is basically your time. And as soon as I heard the news, I actually heard it while I was sparring some of the pros from up the other gym. And I was stoked. Like, you know, I went back to my room and I was just excited because, you know, it was my time, you know, so I had to work really hard for it. And yeah, unfortunately, it didn't transpire the way because the qualifiers got canceled. But 2024, we have our eyes on that for sure.
And what is the general atmosphere like? Was everybody in support of you? Like do you feel like you still have some rivalries at home, like people that still want your spot, or do you feel like, you know, when you're sparring with the pros, everybody's, you know, got their own goals and that kind of thing?
I think back at home is more of a thing where we help each other out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot of support, you know, back home, like even just not even from just boxers, just from people that support me in my career. Like, you know, you're always gonna get somebody that messages you. Like I wouldn't say I go a day without somebody messaging me just saying like, yo, like I see you grinding, like keep it up. You know, and that really inspired me. And as of the boxers, we spar each other every single week. Whenever I'm home, I always hit up the pro coaches. I'm like, yo, like when you guys sparring, like I'm coming on, and they thank me for the rounds that I give them. You know, when we get into the sparring sessions, like sometimes it gets heated. You know, we get in there, we start exchanging punches and whatnot, and like you know, we go hard on each other. But at the end of the day, it's all love. You know, you get out the ring, shake each other's hand, you go watch fights together, things like that.
And speaking about having somebody like giving you encouraging words and whatnot, I'm seeing like when you're making some posts on Instagram, like, are you doing like 3 sessions a day for boxing, like 3 workouts?
So sometimes, so like I work in a few days of the week where I'd hit 3 sessions a day. Every other day is just two
Uh-huh,
sessions.
uh-huh.
But yeah, so you know, I just like working out with my almost like my therapy. You know, so like as much as I could do, I'll do it. You know, as long as my body is able to do it and I feel good doing so, then I'll work out as many times as I am any day as I'm possible.
Well, yeah, I'm just imagining it because you know, obviously you're there, like you're studying, you're also at the Crandall Boxing Club, and then you have this dream. And it's just something about putting in that work and doing those sessions that I imagine, like, it's for sure getting yourself closer to that goal and making yourself, a better boxer. And
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I've
Yeah.
seen there's actually quite a few fights that are circulating on YouTube. I'm just curious, what are some of the fights that are most memorable for you so far in your career?
Um, so it's a few fights memorable to me. One of them would be I think it's an old fight on YouTube. It's from
Mhm.
2020. That was in January. My friend had passed away that earlier that week that I fought. So I dedicated that fight to him. That was my friend Johnny Burgess. He passed away that week. So that was a very memorable fight. Um, and then I fought in New York, and one of my friends had passed away the week prior to that fight. That was in November last year, and that was a memorable fight as well. And that's fighting I think my last fight as well back in home. It was my first fight home in like 2 years. So that was the first fight home since I think two of my friends had passed. So, I had dedicated both of that fight to all three of my friends. So that was a good feeling being back home in front of everybody and being able to carry the legacy on.
And by the way, I am sorry for your loss. A loss is, it's not just one loss, it's been two. And I seen some posts um where you're kind of talking about that, and I thought it was really inspiring, because you talk to them about them as being like angels that are, with you in your journey, and they're keeping you accountable, and there's some, can you talk a little bit about that, because that might have some more spiritual significance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, because it's my grandfather. I every day is on
Mhm.
my forearm.
Okay.
So that was the first to pass. That was in 2014. So that's always kind of been a big motivator for me. Then it was Kijani. After that, so it was like after that it was like, dang, like it's like my grandfather. It wasn't as, I don't think it was. He was that old in age. It was a sudden death, same way. But when Kijani passed away, it was like a young person that I was in school with every day, and it was like, whoa, like it really became real to me. And then later that year in 2020, and my friend Lodge had passed. That's who I have tattooed right here. That was another real surreal one, because that was my age, and we were pretty cool. And like so it was really like hitting that it could be a time at any time. Then when Tino had passed away last November, it was just like that really, like every single one, it seems surreal. That's because they're so young. And so like just referring to them as angels watching over me is kind of just like the always with me. Like I carry the thought into every single fight. That's why I fight so hard. That's why I train so hard. So it's always motivating me to push a little bit harder. So, and they just keep that reminder in my head that you got to make the best of what you have right now, and wake up every day with a purpose, because you never know when your day is coming. You know.
Yeah, and by the way, I really appreciate you sharing that, and I know it's probably not easy to talk about, but it really resonated with me because I actually had, my nan pass away when I was just 10. I know it's been quite a while now.
Yeah.
I'm 24, but I had that same feeling as far as them watching, over us,
Mm-hmm.
and keeping us accountable, and us wanting to, honor them. And I think so far you've been doing a hell of a job doing that. You've been doing a really good job.
Thank
And
you.
I'm seeing that you're getting a lot of recognition from your country, and then you're also getting a lot of recognition just in Canada in general, because yeah, we have to understand too, you might be from Bermuda, but you're also, representing Canada and the Canadian University, and you're much
Yeah.
part of our history as well. So it's a
Yeah.
really
Exactly.
interesting thing that you got going on with this dream of 2024. hardware in the Olympics.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I'm just curious, like when this whole torch has been passed down, is there a lot of pressure? Do you feel a lot of pressure from that, like a lot of expectation? Because it's been apparently some years since Bermuda has gotten a medal, and
Yeah.
they're kind of looking at you as their best chance, right?
Yeah, so 76 was our first medal and our only medal until literally just this past Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Flora Duffy, big shout out to her. She's a female triathlete. She actually won the gold in women's triathlon this past Olympics.
Oh wow.
So that was like a big inspiration to me. So big shout out to Flora Duffy. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like it for me, boxing isn't too much pressure on me, right? Because that's what I do. This is my version of 9 to 5. So it's like I get up every day and this is what I do. So when I get into the ring, like, I might have a serious look on my face, but like I'm having fun at the end of the day. And like I take it very seriously. Of course, because you are going in there and you have to worry about your health. It is a dangerous sport, but this is what I do. This is my passion. So nervous or I don't think I get nervous. I'll say it's more so excitement because it's just like wow, like they're really trusting me to bring this home, and that makes me want to train more. It gets me excited to train more, not so much as like oh man, it's so much expectation. It's like, oh great, they expect so much of me. Let's give it to them, And people who don't expect much of me, let's prove them wrong, So it's just a really big motivation to me to be able to carry the banner and put the iron on my back and just try to bring it home for them.
um Coach John was talking about, and I kind of used it in like a little bit of like a reel or whatnot, but he was talking about how boxing is known as the, and by the way, this was really inspiring, and I just want to have your reaction to it. He was saying how boxing is known as the loneliest sport, but when it
Mm.
comes to this university boxing team, he's seeing a lot of things that are showing that it's not lonely, that you have people and teammates that support you, that are there for you, whether it's boxing or whether it's studies. Can you just talk a little bit about how the team has benefited you as in your own personal career and journey?
Yeah, it's definitely being on this team. I've met some guys that I know is gonna be lifetime friends, and you develop bonds so closely when you can step into a ring with a guy and sparring and bang it out with him for however many rounds, and then get out and shake his hand and then go work on a project together right afterwards. Like you bond a little bit closer. So it's like a lot of the guys on the team, like I consider them some of my closest friends just because like the type of people they are, and when you have aligning passions with
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, it kind of makes you click. That does more. So it like yeah, only you could fight when that bell rings. You're the only one up in that ring with your opponent. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the preparation and what you do before. So that's making sure you have a good circle around you, keeping your hair straight, and keeping you in good spirit, because that's just as important as the fight itself. Because you can't go in there with a clouded hair, or else you don't think straight. And I think having a circle around you really helps with that, a good circle.
And one thing that I was wondering is, you had brought up that going and moving to Canada, and now going to Crandall, it's kind of rid you from some distractions, friends or family or whatnot, or some things that. Can you just talk about Bermuda? Like, was there times when there was things outside of boxing that was distracting about being in Bermuda, or can you
Yeah.
speak on that?
Yeah, like you have your friends home, you have your family home. Yeah, my parents have always been there throughout my whole life. And but you argue with them sometimes. Sometimes like it gets bad,
Preach.
and it kind of throws you off. But like just being away from them, like sometimes it helps you appreciate them.
Of
Being
course.
away from people helps you appreciate them even more, because from a distance, it's like wow, like they were they were really there. It kind of makes you trash the moments that they had with you, even the bad ones. Friends, I love them to death. They're my boys. But sometimes, we will be out, and I'm not getting home until like 12:30, 1 o'clock, right? And we wouldn't even be partying; we'd just be chilling.
Yep.
But it's just during off my schedule, because then I have to be up at 5 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning and getting up and going for runs and stuff like that. It just doesn't fit with the schedule of an athlete. So being away from home definitely helps with that. It does minimize the amount of distractions. And also, my mama's cooking is really good. So
Yeah.
making weight on my mama's cooking is a little bit hard sometimes.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite dishes that she makes? Is she?
Ooh,
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Probably gonna
She
make you
makes these
hungry
really good.
this late, huh?
Yeah, I know. She makes these really good potatoes. Like she seasons them up really nice, and she like puts them with the vegetables and because I'm vegan, right? So she has like these
Oh, you're vegan?
vegan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm plant based. So she has like this veggie meat that she puts with, and it's so good. So yeah, like stuff like that. But yeah, so being out here, kind of keeps me a little bit disciplined. But she's been getting really good with doing meal preps and stuff like that for me when I'm in camp. She's been
Okay.
getting really good with that. So yeah.
And have you been enjoying any of the food places around here? Like I know like food might not seem like a boxing thing, but I mean we all got to eat, and I'm interested culturally, like because there's probably like a spice difference. I had a few friends from Bermuda, and like it's always been an interesting conversation talking about food.
Yeah, one of my favorite joints to go to after like fights, stuff like that, is St. Louis. St.
Okay.
Louis. They have these cauliflower fried things. They're so good. After a fight, and you ain't gotta worry about no diet. Them fries and the fried cauliflower is so good. But yeah, I like there. I like Peter Pitt. I
Peter
think
Pitt,
that's like
that's a
a
staple.
Peter, Peter Pitt. We've been Boston Pizza after a fight. Like, yeah,
Oh,
it's a few good places for
it's
sure.
a shame. It's a shame we can't eat whatever we want when we want to get the gold or get high
Yeah.
results, because I'm a byproduct of just eating whatever I want sometimes, and it can haunt you. It can haunt you. It's
Yeah,
moderation,
but it's
right?
all good. It's all good
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like it's like when you're working towards a goal, and when it's like when I see it and I can envision myself and the way my confidence is built, it's like I know how hard I work. So going to a competition and just thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to get the experience. Like no, like I go there every single time into a fight thinking like with no other thought other than I'm winning. Like I never go into a fight with any slight thought of losing. So like it's like when you have to sacrifice a few things, like it's like yeah, it's whatever, because like that feeling of winning is like nothing else in this world. I guarantee that nothing else compares to having your hand raised at the end of a fight.
And speaking of winning, congratulations in New York.
Thank
Can
you.
you talk a little bit about your experience going down there, and what it was like? And because New York, as far as venues, I know it wasn't Madison Square Garden, but and I know you were like in the state, but New York's a big state for boxing. So what was that like?
That was pretty cool. When I went to New York with the team, it was to West Point, like with the fighting the Army.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was cool. Like they were chanting, like because you're in their backyard, right? So like they
Yeah.
have all the military buddies there, and they're chanting, and like they got different cool chants. So, like sometimes I'm cheering to the chants too, like So that was a good fight, and it's good energy when we guys go on trips together. It's like the whole team were pretty cool. We took each other. So, like, you get to go on trips with all your mates and do what you love at the same time. So it's just like, it's that much better.
Yeah, you got to get maybe from the football team, you get like some cheerleaders come with you and do some chants, Chargers, Chargers,
Yeah, that was another thing.
something.
We got to go to a football game the day after a fight, and that was like Division I football. So I was like, yeah, this is wicked. They had helicopters flying over, and
Because I
like every
noticed
time they touched on,
you got a football shirt on, right?
yeah,
Is that
it's a
Brady
Tom
on
Brady
the
shirt.
Tom Brady shirt?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what was it like seeing was that your first like American football game that you
yeah,
saw?
yeah. That was the first one live that I saw. I was like, whoa, like that's wicked. And yeah, it was like a huge stadium, and yeah, it was cool. It's a good experience.
And like helicopters going over there and like
Yeah,
crazy.
so when they ran out the tunnel, like
Mm-hmm.
2 helicopters flew over and they shot a bunch of cannons off. I was like, whoa, like it was such a cool experience. And I had my camera out and like I didn't see the helicopters until my boy pointed it out. And like you could
Oh,
see my reaction, like my in real time reaction. So I was like, and I look up, I look up at the helicopters and I'm
jeez.
like gasping. Yeah, it was wicked.
Yeah, I'm just thinking with the CFL, if we had that happen in here, then probably like 1/8 of the Air Force would be gone. You know what I mean? You got so many planes in the States, I guess they could do it more. But you know, that's
Yeah,
that. Yeah, like my dad's a huge U2 fan, like music, and like that's the signature. They get like jets or they get helicopters after after a song or something like that, and nothing
yeah,
like the noise and everything like that. I don't think anything compares to something going overhead like that.
yeah, for sure.
And yeah, so I always try to this whole podcast, but obviously your story and everything like that. And then obviously there's people that are listening from different walks of life. But one thing that we kind of all share in common is that the last 2 years, without getting too much into it, have been maybe not the years that we expected.
Most
Can you
definitely.
talk a little bit about maybe the fact that because you've been boxing for 5 years, and I imagine like when you had some plans in your head, some ideas about what these 2 years were going to be, how did you deal
Mm.
with maybe some of the restrictions and still staying motivated as an athlete and still staying towards your goal?
Um, like that's exactly what I would touch on. The motivation these last 2 years have taught me that like you have to find motivation within yourself. Like, cause like if you're only motivated, man, you have a goal in mind, like a fight or something like that, then like it's your career won't go that far because every day I wake up for no reason. Sometimes to go hard and like even days that you don't feel like going hard, like those are the days you really want to push because like it drills into your mind that like you work no matter what, and that's really what separates good fighters from the best. Like work ethic. Because you can be talented all you want, but if you don't work hard, then it means nothing. So these last 2 years was really about just drilling in that work ethic and making sure that you're working even if it's no good. Because through COVID, it was no fights happening, but I was in the gym every single day. Just keeping it going. Me and my coach. Sometimes we would just be there by ourselves. Sometimes I'll be in the gym by myself, and you just gotta find that inner motivation. Yeah, you're not doing anything at 1 o'clock. You're still up. Why not go for a run? It's things like that. Like, and that's what separate me in the
Mhm.
long run. So it all pays off and that's what I knew. Like while doing it, yeah, there's no fights going on. Some people weren't even in the gym. Some fighters I know they weren't in the gym during the mom COVID, and they were like, "Well, why you're training like you have a fight coming up?" Just because I knew it would pay off, and when those fights came back, I was in shape and I was ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's Joe Budden that says something like, if you stay ready, you don't have to
You ain't
get
gotta get
ready.
ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that saying about that he's saying songs. Um, like yeah, like I think what you touched on was kind of what I've been kind of experiencing too, about the whole finding your own motivation. And then you also touched on the fact that there are people watching you, and those things can also give you some positive positivity and motivation. And I kept
Yeah,
thinking
most
while you were
definitely.
bringing up about why are you training about for a fight or whatever, I always thought like in school, as you're probably aware of now, like storm days are a thing in Canada, like
Yeah.
with the whole snow or whatever. And I remember like going through high school, like there'd be this big project or this big test, and then there'd be like a forecasted like snowstorm or something like that. And everybody's like, psh, like, I'm not gonna do any of that. Like I got till next week to do it. And that's
Yeah.
cool when it's canceled. But when it's not, I mean, it's your butt on the line. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess some people like, I'm not pointing names or anything like that, but I have heard that some people like it's hard to get motivated for a boxing fight because they're like, well, it's been canceled twice. It's probably going to get canceled the third time, this or
Mm.
that. But yeah, what you're
Yeah,
saying
like,
about being ready, whether there's a fight or not, I mean, I think it's good.
yeah. And like I said, boxing is my therapy, so boxing is my way to stay level headed and not let life's situations or hardships get to me. It tattooed right underneath my grandfather. It says my reason, and just that, my reason says that's my reason to, like, keep on going every single day. I ain't got to fight. They say fights aren't happening for the next 10 years. I have a reason to be in the gym every single day, just because, like, I gotta keep my head level, keep me on level ground, so I don't act out. And that's what boxing did for me. Boxing saved me in that regard, where it helped me create a venting system to where I don't have to act out. I could go to the gym and I could put my energy into something positive and inspire youth that was just like me when I was coming up, fighting a lot, things like that. So if I could do that and put my energy into something positive, that's a reason enough for me to be in the gym every day and train.
Have you had any opportunity, like you've been into the boxing for 5 years, and I imagine when you started out, there probably was a big, like, did you, first of all, when you started boxing, did you know that this was something that you wanted to pursue to this point, or did it take a while for you to really get in love with it?
Yeah, it definitely took a while, because at first boxing was just a thing where it's just like, oh, I'm gonna start, I'll learn how to fight better. Cause like my father originally took me there because I got suspended from school for fighting.
Okay.
And he was like, oh yeah, you need to go to the boxing gym to learn discipline. So in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, I'll go to the boxing gym to learn discipline, but really I'm just good so I can learn how to fight better. Right. So I went there, and I'm there, and then me and my coach are like, it's crazy. We're like the younger and older version of each other. Like, says like we click just like that. And since then we've been like this. So, I consider like my coach, I call him my second father, says it was cool. So like we just got to working and you saw the progress, and then you got to do your first sparring session, and it's like you start seeing yourself improving and improving and improving. And then all of a sudden you have your first fight, and it's like, oh man, like I want to go all the way with this. So, and every day, I kid you not, it becomes more real and real to me every single day that, like, I'm a boxer and this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, right? And it's like every single day it kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It excites me, because it's like, well, like, I get to do what I love every day, and this is what I'm gonna be doing. So yeah, it's like it never occurred to me, like when I first started, that this is what I was gonna be doing. And every single day I wake up, it's like reoccurring, and it's like, oh wow, like this is what I really do, you know?
Yeah, and it's good that you kind of kept your fights now more in the ring, because
Yeah, for
I'm sure
sure.
that, yeah. But and I'm glad that you shared, that's kind of, apparently this is a very common thing, like with boxers. Like, you just think about it, not most people just walk in, I want to start fighting people. They had like their own things that they had to deal with. Like for me, I got into, it wasn't boxing at first, it was karate. It's because I was
Yeah.
getting bullied. And I think that's
Mm,
another thing, a lot of people, they get into something like boxing, they get bullied,
yeah,
or they have like fights with people at school, and that's kind of how it starts.
yeah,
It could be a vicious place, school. um
yeah. I'm telling you, I'm telling you. Yeah, definitely. But
and
boxing and
Mhm.
sports in general does really create a path for the troubled child, or like somebody with with problems happening at school, like you said, you maybe have been getting bullied. So it really creates and opens a door for this type of children to have a source and something to do, and like, something to be happy about. And that's why I advocate for boxing so much. When people say, "Oh, it's such a violent sport," I'm like, nah, like, you don't understand how many lives boxing or does any sport in general has saved just because of, like, how beneficial it is to one's mental health.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I just had not too long ago, I had Brandon Brewer on
Nice,
from New
yeah.
Brunswick, and he was talking about how he believes boxing is something for all ages. If you're in a senior's home, if you can get somebody to hold pads,
Mm-hmm.
and get some of that tension, some of that stress from everyday life, and it's a really good workout. And he releases endorphins. So I mean, yeah, like, we're talking about some of the highest level of boxing, the pinnacle of the sport, the Olympics, and then there's the pros, obviously, but you don't have anybody listening that wants to get into boxing. I mean, you don't have to be to that level. You just the benefit
Yeah,
is just doing, the
yeah,
activity,
it's all ages.
all ages. Um, and I was wondering, like, was there some people that you grew up around that maybe saw you boxing that got into it as well, or some family members, or because I'm sure
My
you're like a
my
shining star and like everybody's like, whoa, like I kind of want something like that. I want to do that now.
well, the closest person to me, my father, he used to watch boxing back in the day,
Mhm.
before I was born and whatnot. And since I started boxing, he hasn't joined boxing again, but he started watching it a lot more. So
Ah,
like he keeps up with all of that. But there's been a few kids, in the gym that like I make sure, even if like they're not there just for me, I make sure that they know, like, that like I want them to stick around. And like there's kids that, they say they look up to me, they message me, or they will see me in the gym, and they come around, and it's always a good feeling when you have like a little tut coming up to you, and they'll say, "You're like, yeah, I see you in the gym, like I look up to you," and I'm like, I'm 19, right? So I'm just like, well, like I'm not even 20 yet, right? And you got people looking up to you, so it's like that just shows you how beautiful the sport is. So it's things like that, and my gym is full of young kids, right? So
mhm.
every time I'm in there and I see a young kid, and if he's doing something wrong, I'm gonna go there and I'll stop my workout because I know I have a key to the gym. I could be there all night, all day if I wanted to. And so I'll stop my workout just to make sure that guy, he knows exactly what he's doing wrong, how he could do it better, and knows that somebody's caring for him, like somebody in the gym cares for him. That way, like, it'll always be a safe haven for him. There's no negative energy in the gym.
um and that's awesome that you do that, because I'm sure down the line you're going to be, for a lot of these kids, what your heroes are for you now. So
Yeah.
that's awesome
Hopefully.
that you do that.
Yeah.
And I was going to say about your father. I mean, I've always heard that your father is your first fan. Your father, your mother, your parents. Your parents are your first fan. So I imagine
Most
your father,
definitely.
he's getting into boxing because when you're on the TV, he wants to not make a fool of himself. He wants to know, the sport, and like, oh yeah, that inside left hook, blah blah blah. He's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. he's
Yeah, like
getting
my,
he's
my
getting the
mom and my
moves.
dad, they're like my number one fans. Like my mama, she has like posters made up for any fight she can get to. She'll have like a poster made or like a T-shirt made. My
Oh,
pops, like at
that's
my last fight back at home, like I won. I hopped up on the ropes, and my dad was like right there before my corner man. And I hopped out the ring, gave him a hug. It's like they're like right there front and center.
uh-huh.
So I love them for that. They support me in every way.
So moving on to something that's fairly close, can we talk a little bit about Ecuador? Because I know
Yeah,
that's going to be a big tournament for you. Uh,
most definitely.
how many is there going to be? A lot of different competitors from what's the particular region that's fighting in Ecuador?
So it will be all of North America, all of Central America, South America, and all of the Caribbean. So
Okay.
all of those countries will be there.
Wow.
So like, and every single person that goes is number one in the country. So you're there with the best of the best. And as you may know, like countries like Cuba and Puerto Rico and stuff like that, they're amateurs, like they're like top level, right? So it's like I get to mix it up with some of the best guys in the world. And that's like that. Some people that would intimidate me, that's like let's go, like let's make a name for ourselves. Because like looking at the thing, I actually have the email up on my computer now, and looking at the venue, it was 9,000 people. So and they're at full capacity. So that's 9,000 people that could see you and your talents. So it's like let's have it. You wanna compete and you wanna do well and show the world that Bermuda's on the map.
And it'd be a wonderful second interview to just talk about kind of your experience, because I've always been interested, and I say this again. I mean, we now live in a day and an age in boxing where you can't just say, "Oh, fight like a Cuban, fight like a Mexican," because everybody is learning all these international skills and mixing them up. But it seems like when the amateurs from Cuba, the footwork is impeccable. Every country has a Cuban coach. I learned that not too long ago. Like Canada has a Cuban coach, and it's like a supplementary coach to the head coach that teaches all the interesting Cuban drills. And have you had any opportunities fighting like Russians or fighting Cubans?
I haven't fought any like Cubans or Russians, but like I've had like a lot of coaching from guys who've either done it themselves, like fought all those countries, or the coach fighters that have fought those fighters. So like the national coach for Bermuda, Darren Woolridge, I think that's his first name. Everybody calls him Goofy. I'm not quite sure if his is Goofy. I'm not sure if his his first name, but Mr. Woolridge, I'll call him. His mixed it up with some of the best, so back in his day when he fought, he was, I think, Pan Am Games gold medalist, like his done it. So he when he was fighting, he fought all those guys. So like, getting tips and everything like that from guys like that. Troy Darrell, he was number 5 middleweight in the world in like one of the most golden eras of boxing. So like getting tips from them guys, and it's just like, on even sparring with Andre and the people like that who have been to those competitions and mix it up with those guys, it's good because you get all that experience, you soak it all up, and then you apply it. And I feel like I'm a very good listener, and I always take advice from anybody. It could literally be somebody who started boxing after me. If they see something, I'll take the advice, and I would apply it and see how it works with me. Everybody has something to offer, right? So things like that, like it helps you prepare for those type of competitions with those guys, and the experience of actually getting in there and fighting them will only be better.
I think that's very humble of you to because a lot of guys they get in their head a little bit and they say to themselves, well, I'm better than that, I don't have to listen to it. But we all like, I think one thing that's kind of similar or whatever is, how people say like a kid will always tell you the truth. Well, sometimes somebody that just starts out with boxing, I mean, they'll see something and they'll say, well, that looks kind of weird, or why are you doing that? And they might question you, and to the point that you realize, well, there wasn't really a good reason for me doing that in the first place, right? So and another thing I've learned, like one of the coaches or assistant coaches at the gym that I train at, Ray Burns, he has a background with basketball, and then he did some coaching for university girls basketball, and he's been involved with the sport. And then now he's doing associate assistant coaching, and I'm seeing that he's got a knack for a lot of specific details about repetition. And I just think of myself, well, when you're shooting hoops, I mean, the reps, relate to points, and you want to have the right technique and form for shooting. So what you're saying about somebody who's just new to boxing, I mean, we all have experience and knowledge that we carry with ourselves. So exactly, somebody that just started, I mean, everywhere. And maybe you got a really good slugger in baseball that teaches you to throw a hook or something. I mean, yeah,
yeah, twisty body,
yeah,
get a
yeah,
little
yeah,
twisty
yeah,
body.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Most definitely.
Um,
And that comes
mhm.
with any sport too. You have to be humble in everything, like because boxing is a sport. If you let your head blow up, then my favorite example of that is a fighter like Adrian Bronner, talented fighter, like really talented, and he just let everything get to his head, right? And he didn't. He lost his focus. He could have been the next big pay-per-view star, next big Mayweather. He just let everything get to his head, and then look where his career went. And still a very talented fighter. It's just that he couldn't get serious, and he let everything, like the worldly things and temptations, get to him. So like it led him down the wrong path. So being humble and staying humble is key in a sport like this, where it's a lot of recognition, a lot of accolades, money that could come with it. So you gotta stay humble to it.
um, Adrian Bronner, I really like the guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I'm a huge Maidana fan, so when he fought Maidana, I was like, oh no. But you're totally right. He is a very skilled guy, and if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he trying to be pitched as like the next Mayweather? And it kind of
Yeah.
like everybody's trying to be the next Mayweather under his
Yeah.
tutelage and whatnot. And I think now, like I thought Devin Haney was under his tutelage, but I think Mayweather favors Gervonta more,
Yeah,
if I'm
because
not
Javante is
mistaken.
like promoted by him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Devin
Um,
Haney. I think he went over to Eddie Hearn. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, talking about the pros, like, is there any pros from right now or maybe in the past that you look up to as well? Like, I know obviously, you spoke on some people from some boxers from Bermuda that currently still fight. But
yeah.
like, do you look up to what kind of pros do you look up to?
Different prayers, like you always have your old time favorite prayers, like I actually one that not a lot of people know him. Terry Norris
Okay.
is a really good pro. Like he was back in the day. Like he
Mhm.
was really good. Like your Sugar Ray Leonard's, people
Of
like
course.
that. And then of course I'm always gonna look up to my Bermudian,
Mhm.
counterparts like Troy Darrow and Clarence Hill. They did the thing in the press. They're all for that, like Madison Square Garden and stuff like that. So
Yes.
it's like that's like whoa, like that's a big dream to me. But like right now, my favorite fighter is like Errol Spence. Errol
Errol
Spence Jr.
Spence.
His a dog. Like I like his style.
Yeah.
He walks guys down.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, doesn't he have a fight that's been announced that
Yeah, against Ugas,
yes, he's fighting
Dennis
Ugas.
Ugas. Yeah,
Yes. Yes,
that's
and
gonna be
then
a good fight.
because we all want Terence Crawford versus Errol
Yeah.
Spence. And that's been like the fight that's really been hard to make. Um just talking about the sport, like who do you favor in the Ugas Spence fight?
Hey, I got Spence. I don't think
Yeah.
he's gonna stop Ugas, but I think he's gonna dominate. Like I'll
Mhm.
say like a good like Ugas might win like about 3 rounds. That's like my prediction. That's my prediction. Ugas will win about three maybe 4 rounds, but Errol Spence is just gonna walk him down and keep the pressure on him, and like eventually that's like whittle down at that body because Ugas is really good at keeping that
Mhm.
range and like sticking the jab and kind of like mixing it up at times. But if he tries to mix it up with Spence, who's a big puncher, I don't think it's gonna go his way. And don't get me wrong, Ugas is no walkover fighter. That guy is good. Like he gave Sean Porter a really tough fight. He's given a lot of guys tough fights, but I just think Errol Spence is just like a step above, in skill wise and styles make fights, right? And I just think Errol Spence's style isn't the best for Ugas.
Yeah, and I think there's been some talk about, because I know I think it's Crawford that's under PBC.
Oh well, yeah, Crawford. He's a free agent now.
Oh, he's a
That's the
free
that's the
agent.
best
Okay,
thing
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's
Errol
a
Spence is on the PVC,
uh
and yeah, no, Crawford's a free agent, so everybody's like, yo, like make the fight happen, make the fight
make the fight happen.
happen.
Yeah, I really look forward to that fight. Is it coming up soon?
They have to sign all the contracts and
Okay.
things like that, but like I think Errol Spence has to get past Ugas to unify. If he gets past Ugas, then I think he even may have a mandatory
Mhm.
to fight, and his mandatory is just, in my opinion, his mandatory is gonna be just as hard as a Terence Crawford fight, which is Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis is like a young cat coming up. His good. He switches stances. He hits hard, both hands. He could box. He could brawl. And so I'm
Okay,
like,
so
yeah,
like kind
either
of,
way.
would you say like a Terence Crawford too, or
Yeah,
like a
it's like a
second?
Terence Crawford, but with size. Like that's the only difference
Okay.
between Terence Crawford and Jerron Ennis. Like Terence Crawford, he's really good, but he's not a natural welterweight. Like he had belts at 130, 135, 140,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. He actually unified all of 140. But like he's a smaller guy.
Yes.
Jerron Ennis is bigger, like he's like a bigger version of Crawford. So that's gonna be a hard fight for Errol. And like even though Errol's my favorite fighter, I wouldn't even, pick any sides in that fight just because like even the Crawford fight, I wouldn't pick no sides in that fight just because it's a fight I want to enjoy as a fan and not having any bias, because that fight could really go either way.
True. True. Look, we're getting close to time, and I've really enjoyed our conversation so far. I always try to give our guests a chance at the end to kind of plug anything that like their social media, how people can get in contact with you. And obviously we did already discuss that the tournament in Ecuador is kind of the
Yeah,
most close thing that you're working towards. And can I get a date again about when the
Ecuador.
yeah.
Um, that competition will be from March 22nd to April 2nd.
Okay, everybody that's listening, you better be supporting our guy here. Yeah,
Yeah, for
that would be
sure.
is there going to be like streams of the fights
Yeah,
and stuff like
most
that?
definitely.
Okay,
Yeah, that
so
tournament is big. It's a big tournament, so like it'll definitely be streamed.
you might have to search a little bit at the beginning, but once he's at the top and there's only two people in this division, what division are you gonna fight at?
Welterweight, 147 pounds.
Okay, so there's a
Yeah,
reason that he's eyeing up these welterweights.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
seeing the future. Welterweight's a really interesting division to be in. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
it's
like
it's got a lot of fights in welterweight. Because I like, and it seems like the most common weight. I think like the average build, like for a lot of guys that are
yeah.
boxing, like they land around that size, like around like 5'9", 5'10", and
Mhm.
then they can make the way down to 147 pounds. Like it's a pretty average size to, like a lot of guys fighting that weight. So you got a lot of competition for sure.
There's one guy. He's like a commentator, and I know he's lost quite a few of his important fights. But Chris Algieri, I've always
Oh
been a
yeah,
fan of his generalship and just his
yeah,
how he
he's a really
moves.
good guy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's got a cookbook that I had bought a while back. Like he's also really into cooking. So
Yeah, I
it's
have to check it out.
I think
I
it's
love
called the
cooking too.
Warrior. If let me double check this. I don't want to because I actually tagged him in a post one time and he tagged it back and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Right.
So he listens to his fans. Fighter's Kitchen. Uh
Fighter's Kitchen.
yeah, it's not a book that like if you're a beginner cook, it might be it's
It's a
kind of
little
hard
hard.
for me. But
Yeah.
if you have some knowledge behind it behind them, it's like a nutrition book. It'll give you like a nutrition plan. Plus, there's just like a bunch of different meals that he does. Um,
Yeah. I check
yeah,
it out. I actually want to take a second degree in culinary. Like I like cooking. Cooking's
yeah.
fun for me. Yeah,
Hey,
that's. I'm planning on taking up a second major in
let's
that.
go. What's your? That's
Yeah.
actually a really good thing that I should have covered. Is what are you studying at Crandall?
Kinesiology. So like you study of the human body,
Okay.
um, physiotherapists, personal trainers, things like that. Like so, I want to get into that field.
one of my favorite MMA fighters has a degree in kinesiology. George St.
Yeah,
Pierre, George St. Pierre,
nice.
and I think the study of movement does pay dividends. I mean, you might not be like the trainer for yourself. Like you might want to have somebody that like to do all the things that you're learning, but certainly like you're able to help others and stay within your,
Yeah,
kind of the category, the field that you're in with boxing and stuff. So
most
that's
definitely.
awesome that you're taking that.
Yeah,
So and I never commented on this either, so we'll do that before we end. Uh the documentary Fighting for an Island, like
yeah.
the video that was posted, the production quality was like
Oh
through the
yeah,
roof. Through the
it's
roof.
crazy, isn't it?
Like it
I have
was
to
it
shout
was a
out Tom
movie.
Day for that. Yeah,
And
like there's
sorry,
actually a documentary out, like a food documentary. If you go a little bit further on my page,
okay.
it's actually plugged into my bio. It's called Nuffin for Nothing. It's on the actual Olympic channel. So it's like it's a like a 50-minute
Okay.
documentary, and that Fighting for Island documentary
Uh-huh.
was a spin-off of that one. So to make it, well, without saying too much,
Okay.
basically that documentary is a full one. I'm at the like towards the end of it where they tell my story. So
Okay.
it's on three boxes, me, Andre, and Tyler. And then yeah, so that one
I'll
it's
have
some
to.
more to come down the line.
Okay.
That's what I could
Um
say.
yeah. But this shorter video that I had watched, how many people were involved with that? Because I'm telling you, it's like movie quality. Like
Yeah, so Tom Day,
uh-huh.
that's the guy that really like puts all this together. He has been like a real big supporter of this dream,
Yeah.
and he has a team that he brings on, like Hamish and everybody else that comes on. It's like there's actually two more Toms that
Uh-huh.
help with the filming and
Tom.
everything like that. Yeah, and it's like there's Jake, so it's like those guys they came on and they filmed the story, and he has a team back out in England, and they put it all together. So they just come, they film everything, they get me shoot a few things like the running scenes, all of that, and like it's when they're finished, like man, like it makes me like so motivated. Like because I don't see the film until it comes out, right?
Hmm.
I'm just there for all the filming. So when he dropped me that video, I was just like, wow, like it took me back. Like, I was speechless. And it's just like it doesn't make me want to go harder. Like says like Tom, he's a master at what he does. Like and I really appreciate the guy. Like I always gotta shout him out.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, like better than Showtime behind the scenes. Like there was a you could I think the best part about it, and I've had people like Matt Johnson on here that types does like motivational videos with his brother CJ. But like the
Yeah.
main thing that I think is really important when you're doing these types of videos is to have a story as a big part of it. Like just tell a story, not just have and that to me, and I look forward to watching the full um uh story that you have on the Olympic channel. But like it tells a story, and there's like even a part in of it. I think were you talking with your mother on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a very emotional part, and I was like, this is so beautiful, and they're capturing it, and you can see, even though she's not there in person, that she's there with you, and it
Yeah.
was really beautiful.
Yeah, man, it's definitely like it's like and that's the key. Like what Tom does, like he really captures moments like in the raw form,
Mhm.
and like that's really what makes the best filming, and yeah, like all the footage he catches, he just puts it all together and he creates masterpieces. So everything he does, like I just trust him. Like he's coming to Ecuador to
Uh-huh.
film some things like
Okay,
that.
okay.
And so it's like, yeah, so like I just whenever he tags along, I'm like, oh yeah, I know I'm gonna get some good footage, I'm gonna
Yes.
get some good pictures, stuff like that.
Well, tell him. I mean, next Cannes Film Festival, no joke. You get some stuff
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean? Sports documentary. Get it out there,
Yeah.
Netflix, Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? Because I'm
Yeah.
sold. I'm sold. I'm sold. So yeah. But hey, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. There was some parts, it was obviously not the easiest thing to share, but I think everybody that listened to it has been able to take something with them. We all are going to be watching your journey, your career. We're all in support and looking forward to seeing you bring some hardware from just this tournament coming up, and then I'm also looking forward to you just getting some of the experience that's going to shape you for 2024.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. I know it's pretty late, but yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's a good experience, and I appreciate everybody that always like reaches out and like tries to get my story out there. It's a big help, and it all pays off in the end because you never know who might see everything.
You never know.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it. Take care. Stay safe as always.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Likewise.
Peace out.
All right, bro.
And that's it, folks. I hope you had a good time listening to this episode. I certainly did. Adrian's a really stand-up guy. One takeaway that I heard him say was when he was saying he'd take advice from anybody, no matter if they're a beginner boxer or not. How many boxers really say that? It's a really humble. He's a really humble guy. And one thing I also appreciate about him is how dedicated he is. I mean, doing three exercises or practices a day is not an easy feat, especially on top of being a full-time student. He's taking kinesiology. He said that he was considering maybe a second major into the culinary arts. So obviously, and we talked about food, and I kind of got hungry listen talking about it. But honestly, like I said to him at the end, I really hope that everybody enjoyed hearing his story and that they continue to follow through. This isn't just a story for him in Bermuda, but it's also a story for fellow Canadians. We have an international student who's interacting with other Canadian boxers, training with a Canadian coach. So it's kind of also a story for everybody. So I really look forward to hearing the results from this upcoming tournament. Love to get him back on the show, kind of talk about the different levels of competition, the different competitors and nations that compete. I never even realized that Cuba, Mexico, United States. It's going to be a really stacked tournament. But let's see how he does. So without further ado, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, I really recommend that you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or your preferred platform if you're listening or watching. And the reason for doing that is so that when a new episode comes out, you won't miss it. You'll get an alert. And as always, guys, stay safe. Have a good rest of your day, whatever time you're listening to it. And I appreciate you, as always. Appreciate the support, guys. Just want to add a little final note by saying, the support in the last few episodes has been amazing. I never thought that, me doing this show would give me as much purpose and happiness, but I've been really enjoying doing this, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it too. I get a lot of messages from people encouraging me, so I will continue. And guys, take care.